young boy, there were times that I woke up and I'd have to step over broken glass and stuff, and it was not a good scene. So when I was 17, I walked away from that. I said, I want nothing to do with church. I want to get away from this, and I'm going to live my life the way I want. So obviously I came to Simcoe because it's such a wild town. But anyway, but I had a good friend, and he said, come and move into, at our house. And his father happened to be a pastor, so I really went a long ways from church to living with a pastor. But his father was a different kind of pastor. He was a biker, George Purser. I'm sure some of you know him. And he worked in the community. He lived his life away from the pulpit the same way that he preached in the pulpit, and that attracted me. And I began spending more time with him than I did with his son. And I would go to the halfway house that he ran, and I would sit and talk to these down and out guys, and listening to George and his life experience, I began to realize that was true Christianity. And when I was 18, I made a commitment to the Lord. I also married one of his daughters, which was bonus. But, we started a family here in town, and things were going good. And God put a call on my life when I was in my 20s to be an evangelist. And I didn't really know what that meant, and I didn't know how to go about it. So I did everything wrong. In searching that out, I started to get involved in church ministry, and we left Simcoe and we were attending another church, and I dove into everything I could in church ministry. I was preaching, teaching, visiting, just doing everything I could and working at the same time, and really just burning myself out. And this pastor was the kind of guy that if you're willing to do it, I'll let you do it. And I just got so involved in that, and I still wasn't getting the results that I wanted. I wasn't getting that recognition from man, I guess. That's what I was looking for. And so I decided to go to Bible college. Maybe that would get me the recognition that I needed. So not only was I working and raising a family and working in a church, but now I went to Bible college and took a full course load, and I was overwhelmed, but I was too stubborn to give up and let go of a few things. So in the third year of Bible college, I started to become unraveled emotionally and physically, and one night on my way to work, I just lost my sense of whatever, and I got into trouble. And it wasn't too long after that night, the cops picked me up. Thank you, Blue Knights, you did a good job. And so they picked me up, arrested me, and after some trials for 2 years, I was sentenced to 9 months in jail. So I went from Bible college to prison. And that's not something that I'm proud of by any means. I'm ashamed of my past, but God is woven through my past, so I have to share it. And so I did my time in jail, and it wasn't easy because I'd never been in prison before in my life. I wasn't by any means a good kid, but prison was totally different to me. And I know a lot of people say that, you got it made in prison, you get 3 meals a day, and, but they have their own rules in prison. Inmates, they make the rules. I know the guards, they're there, but inmates make the rules. So I found out in a big hurry that because of my size, I was a threat to those that were in charge. So I had to do some fancy footwork, and one of the biggest guys there come up to me and he said, there's a bet going on around here that who would win if you and I got into a fight? And I said, you know what? I said, you're about 20 years younger than me. I said, you'd probably kick the snot out of me. And he said, good answer. And me and him became good friends. And because of that, nobody bothered me. So that was God weaving in my life, even though that I was in that state and in that place in my life. And I'll never forget, I decided to go to chapel, and hey, it got me out of my cell. And the first song they sung was Amazing Grace. And I've heard that song a million times, but it hit me that time. That saved a wretch like me. I went back to my cell and I cried out to God, what am I doing here? I've done all these things for you. Went to Bible college. And it was like God was right beside me. He said, I never told you to do that. And then I began to realize that it wasn't God at all. It was me. It was me trying to get man's approval. So I did my time and I got out of jail, and it was nice. It was great to be back. But I was, ashamed of what I'd done. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want to do anything. So I pretty much buried myself for 2 years, and finally I was attending a church in Tilsonburg, and I said to the pastor, I said, I feel condemnation when I step in these doors. And he said, there's no condemnation here. He said, that's not from God. And I began to realize that he was right. So I had no ambitions to go back into ministry. That part of my life was over, as far as I was concerned. And it wasn't until I was at a bike show with my son, and I had been going for probation. I was sentenced 2 years probation too. And the interesting thing about this, and how I say that God wove himself around my life, I was a little upset going to probation because they said, you're going to have to go to Woodstock because we're doing some shifting things around, and you're going to have to report to Woodstock every 3 weeks. So that was a bit of a hassle for me, and I thought, I don't know, what else can go wrong? And then I found out it was a woman probation officer, and I thought, oh man, she probably hates men, and it's going to be a terrible time. And first time I went to see her, she seemed like a nice lady. I told her my story, and she already knew anyways, but she said, the funny thing is I was transferred from London to Woodstock, and she said, I was upset about that. But she said, I'm a Christian. And she said, now I know why I'm here. And I got 2 years of Christian counseling paid for by the government. We just had a great time. And that's how God moved through my life. So for 5 years, I didn't get involved in nothing. I just laid low. And I was at a bike show with my son, and he picked up one of these DVDs. And he took it home and looked at it. And he called me up and said, Dad, you gotta look at this. So I did, and I just felt like this is what God wants me to do. Barry Mason in his testimonies, he talks about being in the Hells Angels, and he said, where were the Christians when I was in the club? And that just touched my heart, because we're commanded to go out. So I got involved with the Heaven Saints, and they took me. Imagine that. After my story, they said, oh yeah, I'll fit right in. And I found out that, I can't cross the states, but there's a lot of those guys in the States that can't come to Canada either. So, I feel pretty much at home with them. And I've been so blessed to be a allowed into ministry. And I realized that this is what God wanted me to do all along, because I can be who I am. I don't have to be somebody dressed up in a suit trying to be something that I'm not. I love bikes. I love working with people on the streets, and I love working with bikers. And God has just opened that up to me. So God has been continually working in our lives and helping us and blessing us. And I just want to end with one more story, because it's just such an amazing way that God works. 3 years ago this month, we lost our son, Greg. And that was a blow for us. I can't even explain to you how that worked, how we felt about that. But anyways, you know, we went to the funeral home, and we had to make arrangements, and Greg's body was out west, and there was a whole lot of things that had to happen. And the funeral director said, well, we're gonna need $10,000 to get started here. And I said, well, when do you want that? And he said, right now. And I'm like, I don't have $10,000. But the funny thing was, my sister-in-law was there, and 3 months previous to this, she had won a scratch ticket for $10,000. Now the miracle is that she hung on to $10,000 for 3 months. She said, I'll pay for it. So she wrote a check. And then as the funeral, as time was going on, money started to flow in. You know, people heard about things and wanted to help out. Within a week, we paid her back that $10,000. And that's how God works in people's lives. And I'm just so grateful for what is working out in our lives, and how my brothers and the saints have surrounded me and helped me to grow. And we have a national chaplain that I love to death. He's a good man. I was recently ordained through the Heaven Saints.
Praise the Lord.
Something I never thought would happen. So that's my story. And you know, God lost a son too. His name is Jesus. And I know the pain he felt when he did it for each one of us. If you don't know that this morning, I challenge you to seek it out. Find out what it's about. Because God sent his son into the world not to judge the world, but to love the world. That's our mandate, is to love the world.